Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
Here we are on a Monday. How in the world are we doing here on a Monday? Hope everybody had a good weekend. I hope everybody is recovering from the weekend. If you were out partying maybe a little too much, or kids had you running around a little too much, and now you're trying to maybe find a vacation day to get away from your kids for a couple of days, so you decided to go to work to get a break from your kids. A lot of people off of school today. Some people off of work today, obviously, for celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day today. So both our kids are over at the Sitter. And I know numerous people have off today. Like our entire building is off today outside of the sports station. Everybody else is off. The music stations, they're off. But the sports talk guys, we work.
What's new?
We work, baby.
I don't think there's ever been any holiday where it feels like we're not here in some capacity, somebody doing something.
We took care of you on Christmas.
You did.
Christmas
but
Day.
you guys were still here Christmas Eve,
yes,
the day after,
Christmas day after. We worked the day after, but Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, we worked those too. It's fine. It's not a big deal. We love what we do, and I'm not complaining.
We choose it.
Yes, I am not complaining. Tom Silverstein, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Packers beat writer. He will join us coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. Tom Silverstein, the man who wrote a piece prior to the decision to extend Matt LaFleur that they needed to make a change and be done with Matt LaFleur. Now, after writing that piece, he will have to go back into the locker room and back into pressers with Matt LaFleur after he called for his job, Charlie. Not an envious position for any writer to have to be in.
Not at all, but what I've seen on social media, he's taking it very humbly. You know, he's going out there saying, I know what I'm going to have to go through here. But at the same time, he wasn't the only person calling for it. There's a lot of other people that were making that suggestion or saying it flat out, too. And he's not alone.
There are not many that were out there publicly asking for LaFleur to be done. There's just not. I mean, national-wise, there was nobody outside of Bill Simmons. Locally, I think he's the only one that wrote locally for him to be out of a gig. Fans-wise, yes. Ton of fans wanted Matt LaFleur to be done. No question. So we'll talk to Tom Silverstein coming up here at 2:20. From down in Miami, sites of the national championship game, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, senior writer there. He'll join us coming up at 3 o'clock as we get ready for Miami and Indiana tonight. I'll also get his thoughts on the transfer portal and how he sees what the Badgers have done here under a hot seat of Luke Fickell going into next football season. But definitely want to get his thoughts on Indiana, Miami tonight. That comes up at 3 o'clock. Charlie Sounds of the Day, as always, at 3:40, brought to you by Prize Picks. And then our Green and Gold update coming up at 4 o'clock. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to get into the contract extensions, all that with Tom coming up at 2:20. But we're going to talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend, NFL playoffs, and specifically what happened with the Chicago Bears last night. Do you feel better or worse about how this Packers season ended after watching the Bears lose last night to the Rams? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Our guy Charlie Usen is the other side of the glass as always. And as we all know, Charlie, a Miami Hurricanes fan, wearing all of his Hurricanes gear today. Might be the first time I've seen him in Hurricanes gear in the last.
I've worn this sweatshirt for once a week for the past couple months. I got it for Christmas, yes.
Yeah.
And then this past weekend at the thrift fair that I went to in Illinois, I got this awesome Hurricanes jacket that I've been wearing because it's really warm.
That's okay. Good. So you do have a couple of pieces.
Got a couple things.
You have a couple of pieces. But the game didn't go so well for him last night because he also happens to be a Bears fan. That's a beautiful thing. Highlight courtesy of NBC as the Rams win in overtime against the Chicago Bears. Now, I will say that the very first text message I got after that kick was how mad are you at Brandon McManus right now, right? Because they essentially won the game on their field goal kicker at the end. The Packers essentially lost their game because of the field goal kicker. I heard them talking on the Mason Crosby show before us about whether or not, he thinks McManus will be back or not back and so forth. And I've stated prior, I would bring Brandon McManus back. I absolutely would. Again, going in that game, he hit 13 straight. Half the year he was playing hurt. Brandon McManus is a good field goal kicker and has proven to be one throughout his entire career. Did he have a bad game? Yes. Does he wish he didn't have the bad game when he had the bad game? Abso-freaking-lutely. No question about it. We know what this looks like with not having a field goal kicker and rotating guys in with guys that certainly are not good field goal kickers versus having one that's really good. Right? So why go through that rigmarole again if you don't have to? So from that perspective, no. I'm not interested in moving on from Brandon McManus and overreacting to a loss in that one. Do I feel better or worse about the season? To be honest with you, it didn't make me feel one way or the other all that much. It just didn't. I didn't really care one way or the other as far as the Bears and how they lost and so forth. My thing was, and I was right, was Ben Johnson's going to cost them. He's going to cost them. And he did cost them. He played the same type of game as he did against the Packers. Now, the difference is when he did it against the Packers and they weren't converting fourth downs, giving the Packers the ball back and all of that stuff, they were able to bail themselves out at the end of the game because the Packers, once again, just kept shooting themselves in the foot. This Rams team wasn't taking advantage of them screwing up fourth downs either, nearly as much. But this time, the end result was they lost. And now you have Bears fans going, man, you left like 6 points on the field there. And that's who that dude is. And I'm sorry, but it's not going to change. And I see all these national media guys are like, hey, at some point, does this trend reverse? At some point, do you go back to not being overly over the top aggressive going for fourth downs and going back to just taking the points early in games and then being aggressive maybe later in games? Is this a circle the game type deal of where the NFL changes its over aggressiveness on fourth downs? Or will this just be viewed as a blip by the analytics guys or whatever and go, yeah, that could happen. We all know that could happen. But more times than not, you're going to win because of your aggressiveness. I don't know how it's going to go. I have no idea. But you could see it coming that he was going to cost them. And he did. At the same time, his aggressiveness is the reason why they got as far as they did throughout the course of the year, too. So, it's a two-edged sword. Pick which side you want to balance on, and hopefully you don't fall on it.
Well, and you can say he gave up 6 points in that game by not just kicking the field goal. They could have had 6 points early on in that game if Roma Dunze catches the ball. And the Bears also had a lot of wide receivers just dropping balls in general in this game.
What, 3?
Mm-hmm. Yep. This was a game where the Bears just could not get over the cold. And it was hitting their hands and it was frustrating. And then Caleb Williams made a lot of really just bad mistakes. I know a lot of people want to blame that last throw on DJ Moore because he just didn't finish the route, which is true. He didn't finish his route. But at the same time,
and he didn't.
But at the same time, Caleb, again, you can't just be chucking the ball up hoping that the guy is just magically going to be there. You have to use your eyes and see, just like in the Packers game when he threw that really bad pick early on in that game as well. I think this is something where Ben Johnson later on in this game, again, he went for those fourth downs, but some of that play calling in the late downs, in the short yardage, especially in the 5 yards goal to go situations, he kind of looked like Matt LaFleur with the creativity in the play calling where people were questioning whether or not Matt LaFleur had it there when he just kept running it up the middle. He was doing the same things. He got scared. So this is something where I think as a Bears fan, I would feel better about the Packers and Matt LaFleur after watching a game like this because the same things that Ben Johnson did when he was freaking out in moments in this game are the same things that Matt LaFleur was doing too. And just a week ago, people were calling for Matt LaFleur's job after they thought he got outcoached by Ben Johnson.
Yep, exactly right. And obviously, Matt LaFleur's job is safe. They extend him. We'll talk to Tom Silverstein about that, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel Packers beat writer who called for Matt LaFleur to not get extended and to be done. So we'll talk to him coming up at 2:20. For me, looking at this thing, I'm not going to call him garbage like Mason Crosby called him trash later. I'm not going to be that over the top on Caleb Williams like Crosby was. There are a couple of things here. Number one, he's just not that good when he's in the pocket. I mean, I don't know what else to say. We talked about it going into that game of don't let him run around, keep him in the pocket, make him throw out of the pocket. And if he beats you, he beats you. And he had a good game. But more times than not, he's going to make mistakes and he's going to throw balls that aren't even close to guys. I mean, the interceptions he threw, it wasn't like a ball got tipped on one of them or it bounced off a receiver's hands and they got lucky and it really wasn't on him. Like every interception was 100% on him, whether you give him the DJ Moore out or not. It wasn't close to any receiver for the Bears. So as far as I'm concerned, those all lie at his feet. There is no, well, I mean, now it's just an unlucky break. Well, that tipped off that guy's hat. None of that stuff. That's on him, man. You can't have 3 turnovers in a game. And then you got Josh Allen doing the same kind of crazy crap. CJ Stroud doing the same type of crazy crap. I mean, again, just bad quarterback play, or I guess you can credit to really good defense. But in Caleb Williams, from his perspective, he just missed throws.
Well, and some of those, the first 2 in this game, at least, they kind of felt like what some Bears have been defending it as an arm punt, which I guess I kind of get
dude both times.
To the same dude both times, and they didn't really result in huge returns. But the momentum you still give away when you have moments like that, especially early on in a game, can really be detrimental to your team. And you can't survive through an entire playoff run doing that.
Exactly right. And the other part about this too is we talk about, the future of the Bears. This is the other thing I love. So I see last night on X, people of Bears fans, fire Ben Johnson. You left points on the board. They should be on to the next round, so forth. Okay, chill. So then I talked to somebody down at the Score in Chicago earlier today. I was like, please tell me that your fan base isn't calling in asking for Ben Johnson to be fired. He's like, oh, no, I haven't had any of those. Okay, well, that's good. So you have the minority that's upset on social media, which isn't that hard to believe. But when you start talking about like how good they are and how good they can be kind of going forward, to me, that doesn't seem as bright to me as what Chicago media and Bears fans are making it out to be. We'll get into more of that coming up at 4:20. We start talking about the NFC North, the kind of like how this all really stacks up, because the Lions are going to get a new offensive coordinator. That's going to happen. They're interviewing the Cardinals OC, I think, today. You've got the Packers who, providing, the story doesn't change, Jeff Hafley's going to get a head coaching job, probably in Miami. So you're going to have a new defensive coordinator, potentially a new defensive staff, potentially a new special teams coordinator if they move on from Rich Bisaccia, which is what everybody expects to happen. So that whole staff, a new offensive line coach, I mean, there may not be many guys on this Matt LaFleur staff left that are the same that coach in this last game by the time they get to week 1. So there's going to be an overhaul there. As far as the Bears assistants go, I think for the most part, they're all going to be there and return. I haven't seen anybody interviewing all over the place in Chicago yet, right? Am I missing something?
No, not really. Their QB coach and their pass game coordinator has been getting calls a little bit to be an offensive coordinator, move up in roles there. But other than that, the way Ben Johnson built his staff this past offseason was with a lot of guys that worked under him with the Detroit Lions, and then a lot of young guys in this league that I think he kind of assumed just wouldn't get that shot this early on.
Right.
I think he built the staff in mind thinking that he could keep these guys around for 2 to 3 years before they really start getting those serious looks. And then that would give the time for the Bears to build this system going here.
And I think that's completely smart. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So what I'm saying is, that's what it looks like there. And then the Vikings, you still don't know what the quarterback situation looks like with them.
They still finished the season better than I think a lot of people expected.
Yes, they were right there knocking on the doorstep with a revolving door at quarterback. So you can't count them out. So we'll get into that coming up at 4:20. Like I said last week, maybe it's a magic carpet ride year for the Bears. Maybe that'll happen, or maybe they'll crash into a wall. And they kind of crashed into a wall a little bit. And, of course, Brewers fans were excited, like, hey, congratulations, you got the Super Bowl. Just like the Cubs were, hey, Brewers fans, congratulations, you got your World Series, right? And then it's over the next round. And I'm not saying that's the reason why the Bears lost that game, but I'm sorry. There's an emotional toll that goes into beating an arch rival the way they did and the way the Brewers beat the Cubs. It's just hard to get yourself back up and then play at that super high level again.
Definitely, but again, then you see the difference between the two sports still, though, and how big of a difference the Dodgers are from the Rams, and how close the Bears were to the Rams versus how close the Brewers were to the Dodgers in those moments.
No doubt.
It just feels like the NFL again is at this point where everybody feels like they can beat anybody, and it's really fun to watch these games. But yeah, it ends up being really heartbreaking after you just put all that energy into beating a rival.
I think it's been 15 straight years now where the Patriots or Chiefs will have been in the AFC Championship game.
That's crazy. Just nuts. And I was talking about this with Josh Albrecht of Inside Wisconsin Sports earlier today. He was like, oh, isn't it kind of sucks that you're going to see the Patriots and Seahawks in the Super Bowl again? Because he's just assuming that those teams are. And I was like, yeah, but no, at the same time, they're completely different teams.
Different.
It's kind of cool to see that, like, you're seeing the history repeat itself with completely different rosters. That's kind of cool to me.
I'm not sure who gets excited about watching Drake May versus Sam Darnold. But you know, we'll see what happens. I'll be happy for McDonald or Vrabel if it's those two in the Super Bowl with a chance to win. McVay goes, he'll have a chance to do it again. Obviously, Stafford a chance to do it again and become 2-time Super Bowl champs, which is a big feat in the National Football League. But if Sean Payton beats the Patriots with what he's got in Stidham, that is going to be an unbelievable story. Coming up next, Tom Silverstein, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Packers beat writer, will join us. He called for Matt LaFleur's job, and then Matt LaFleur got extended. He's straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. See Sparky Fifer with you. Charlie Usen over there, other side. Doing our thing here on a Monday. Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. He is Packers beat writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Follow him on X at Tom Silverstein. Tom, how are you doing today?
Very well. Happy MLK Day to you.
Yes, indeed. Happy MLK Day to you as well. Okay, so
Right.
I saw you were having to deal with it on social media after the extensions of Matt LaFleur, and we believe Goody is going to get done as well here, because you obviously were the one person that called for LaFleur to maybe time to move on there and not give him an extension. I think you've handled it very, very well on social media, Tom.
Well, thanks. I try to stay off there as much as possible, but someone brought up a good point, and I decided that, I would address what they had brought up, which is that, my standing, with the Packers organization probably isn't very good, or with LaFleur especially. And that may wind up being true. I haven't talked to him since and don't know, but that's part of the job. You write what you think when you do a column.
Yes.
And stand by it.
Okay, so for those that may have missed it or didn't see it or whatever else, what was the grounds that you were standing on as far as why you thought it would be in their best interest to potentially not give him the extension and move on?
Well, mostly change. I'm not in the camp that doesn't think that Matt LaFleur isn't a good coach. He is a good coach. His record shows it. And they've made the playoffs, and he develops quarterbacks. But, there's a shelf life on coaches, and the record shows it, too, for guys who've gotten to the Super Bowl. Most, guys get to the Super Bowl within the first 5 years of their career. And then, if they don't get it, then they usually don't make it. So, in fact, I'm doing the research on it right now, and I'm up into the 80s, and the only guy who took more than 7 years was John Madden, and he got it in his 8th year.
Right.
But, for most of the others, they turn franchises around really quickly. So that was kind of my feeling, that, and just the way they've been losing games of late is just a bad taste, through the entire organization. And I'm not sure if they can overcome that.
It's interesting. We have our X and YouTube chat up, our dugout chat up, and Timothy brings up on there. He goes, now this is why players don't say anything negative about a coach when asked going into the offseason, because then if they do keep that coach, then they've got to deal with that same coach the next year. If they say anything slightly negative towards the guy that's potentially not going to be back or brought back on an extension. How much do you buy into that when you start hearing from Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft and these guys going to bat for LaFleur?
Well, 100%. I mean, are you going to rip your employer publicly with a bunch of microphones in your face and knowing that it's going to be all over the place?
I wouldn't, but I know some that have, but I definitely would not. No.
You're right. There are some that have, and what happens to them? They usually end up getting traded or whatever. Yeah. I think you saw some sort of not subconscious isn't the right word, but hints of, something's wrong, like the culture or something is wrong. You heard it from Quay Walker. You heard it from Javon Bullard. Josh Jacobs made mention of it, which is, they're a team that just can't finish and something's wrong. And so, I don't think those guys are particularly pointing the finger at LaFleur, but what they're saying is something's wrong. There's something that's keeping them from becoming a championship type team. And really, if you look at it, who knows if they had beaten the Bears, I don't know. I don't know if they could have gotten past Seattle, but it's a whole different looking year if they had won that game. And if they had won the other game against the Bears, you know, they would have been division champions. So, it's not like they weren't capable of doing it because they were ahead in those games. And so, I don't know. I just kind of feel like after 7 years, maybe the message isn't being heard anymore. I don't know.
Tom Silverstein, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Packers beat writer, joining us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Stream us live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. So if we look at this right now, and there's been no mention of staff changes or anything, but if the assumption is correct that Jeff Hafley's going to get a head coaching job here, I mean, that defensive staff could be changed over. I would think everybody's expecting the offensive line coach to be changed out here, and Luke Butkus, maybe Stanovich as well as offensive coordinator, don't know. And then the special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia, I think people are going to pick at Green Bay if they don't move on from Rich Bisaccia at this point. So while LaFleur does come back, I would say there's a chance that a large portion of his coaching staff could be different by the time you get to training camp next year.
Yeah, there could be some significant changes. There could be some guys who, want to leave and maybe LaFleur lets them leave. There could be some guys maybe who get a coordinator's position offered. I mean, there's eight openings now after
10. Well, there was 10, but now 2 have been filled or whatever. So yeah.
So I mean, that's a ton of jobs out there. And, there's going to be a lot of changes. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for LaFleur to upgrade his staff with the number of coaches who are going to be out there. And so, I mean, he has to do everything he can to make, this one of the best staffs in the league. And, the way you judge that is you look and see how many of those guys are candidates, that do people want them? Do they want them to become their offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator? Or do they want them to become their head coach? And that really has not been the case through his 7 years. There's not a ton of guys who've, just been absolutely coveted.
There's been a lot of conversation amongst fans, I guess, talking about the idea of he needs more experience on this staff than maybe what he has right now, especially on the offensive side of the football, that maybe he needs an offensive coordinator that has called plays at a high level or has former head coaching experience to help him more in those moments towards the end of games in big situations. Would you agree with that?
Maybe he could use, a really experienced guy. Now, Bisaccia was that. He's been around. I don't know that was a problem for him situationally. I don't know what he added, but that's not untypical for a special teams coach with a lot of experience to be involved. It also depends how much is LaFleur listening to him and how much, what is that guy's role? I don't know. I suspect it probably helped to have Tom Clements around for a long time,
sure,
because I think he added a perspective to, especially the quarterback play. But, LaFleur's in charge, and, there are a lot of things you can say about last season. He could have commanded, and he didn't in terms of change. And so I don't know if some other guy is going to be able to do that. He's going to pretty much do it his way.
There is reports of, this is going to be a significant commitment, it sounds like, for Matt LaFleur, and probably Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball, I believe, is being talked to as well. Jordan Love's contract goes through 2028, through his age 30 years. So we're talking about 3 more years. He already had 1 year left on his deal in 26. So a 2-year extension would have gotten him matched up with Jordan Love through 28. If the reports are it could be significant, what are we thinking here? I mean, are we thinking this could be like a 4-year contract extension? Making it like 5 years?
I would guess 3. I would, I'd be willing to wager a little bit that it's a 3-year deal.
Ooh,
and
really?
It's probably,
All right.
it's probably in the $15 million range per year, which would put him just, right below the elite guys, maybe second, just lower second tier. And then those coaching salaries are going to go up. You're going to see probably some pretty big increases with guys now. I think it's, I think it's going to be exactly like what we just saw with Sean McDermott. Okay, 7 years, you go 2 more and see whether he can get it done. And if he doesn't, you bite the bullet and eat whatever's left. And that's what if you're not feeling like you're getting any closer to a Super Bowl, then I think at some point you do have to do that. So maybe that's kind of what they were thinking. Look at McDermott. He keeps taking teams to the verge, but he just can't get over the top. And they think LaFleur can get him over the top.
Looking at coaching salaries coming into this year, right? $15 million. Nick Sirianni, Sean McVay, $15 million. Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, $16 million. John Harbaugh, $17 million. Sean Payton, $18 million. Andy Reid,
he's $20 million now.
Right.
Harbaugh's $20 million.
Correct. But I'm just saying coming into this year, and then $18 million Payton, and then $20 million for Reid. All of them, $15 million or more. All of them Super Bowl champions.
Correct. But you're going to see that scale go way up. We've got 8 hirings to go, and you're going to see some guys get decent money. I mean, Ben Johnson got $13 million.
Yep.
So if Ben Johnson gets $13 million, everybody else is going to be on their next negotiation is going to be $17 million. I want $18 million. So those numbers are going to go up. If LaFleur is at 15, that'll be that's about the price you would expect to pay for a guy like him.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't think the money is a huge deal. I think it's more the years.
Right. What about the health issues that this team has faced and battling kind of year in and year out? I mean, could Matt LaFleur argue that, hey, man, I mean, come on, man, we're always hurt. I can't keep my top playmakers on the field when we get to the postseason?
I don't know. I mean, they changed the strength and conditioning coach and brought in a guy who's pretty well respected. He changed a lot. I mean, he really did. And last year, I think they weren't. I thought they had fewer injuries last year in his first year, and then his second year, I don't know. A lot of them were just contact injuries. Some of them weren't. I don't know that you can prevent ACLs. I just don't think that's, you can sit there and say that's the strength and conditioning coach's responsibility, because ACLs happen, and they just happen to their best players. They kept Jordan Love pretty healthy, and that was pretty key. They kept Christian Watson healthy. That was pretty key. A good number of their offensive linemen. Anyway, you get the point. I mean, I don't know what you can do about that unless you're overworking your guys. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's like Detroit where they're hitting in training camp, and then at the end of every year, they're just a beat up team.
I feel like, Tom Silverstein, there's going to be some cap casualties that'll probably happen going into the offseason. They don't have a first round draft pick either. What do they need to do in your mind this offseason in order to put them in a better situation to win this division and challenge to get to the Super Bowl next year?
I think they've got to add corners. I think this is a year to really go heavy on trying to add corners. They're just too valuable. They're almost as valuable as pass rushers. I mean, pass rushers are huge, but at some point you got to have some guys who can cover. And you're not going to win. I don't think you're going to win Super Bowl with Carrington Valentine as your number 2 corner. I wouldn't give up on Nate Hobbs. I know a lot of people have, but I still think if they can figure out a way to keep him healthy, he could be a decent player. But I still think they have to figure out, either bring some young, talented guys, use the draft for it, or maybe another free agent. I think they got to continue to address defensive line and find some bigger guys that can help when they play teams like the Bears and the Lions. I think that's a key. And then they'll have to see who they lose. If they lose Quay Walker, I don't know. They might have to get a linebacker. They're pretty good at receiver. They're pretty good at safety. I think they have enough guys on the offensive line to be successful. Josh Jacobs, we'll see. They'll probably have to address running back just for numbers standpoint. And, they could use another tight end too. I think they could use a blocking tight end as well.
Tom, I got 2 more for you. One, the Gutekunst extension, does that make more sense than the LaFleur extension then in your mind?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, I think you've seen him give that team, they're a pretty talented team. He has hit on, not have struck gold on his first round picks, but he's done really well in the second, third, fourth rounds. And he made 2 of the best trades probably in, I don't know how long. The Micah Parsons trade is probably the best trade since Herschel Walker. It really is. He's a dominant player. And then, the Malik Willis deal was phenomenal. Nobody else was willing to give a 7th for him. And look what that meant. So I think he's done a pretty good job. Doesn't mean he's not faultless. There's some things he's got to address with the roster, but I think he's deserving of the extension.
Last question, Tom. If they revert back to how the power structure was with Bob Harlan, and that ends up being a thing, and it goes back to Goody being in charge of the head coach, and then Goody reports to Mr. Policy, are you in favor of that?
I am in favor of that, but they're not doing that. They've, that's definitely not on the table right now. So this coming year, it's going to be just the same way it has been. Whether that changes, in the future, I don't know, but I think Policy feels comfortable with the way it is now. He's got, 3 guys who've been working under that same structure, and I think he just doesn't want to change it now. If something, if they continue to struggle and not do anything in the playoffs, maybe he does change that, but it won't be changed this year.
Tom Silverstein, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Packers beat writer. He's the best. Follow him on X at Tom Silverstein. Tom, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
You got it.
Take care. No problem. You betcha. There he is,
Bye-bye.
Tom Silverstein on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. 1 call. That's all. Couple of things. One, he said he'd be willing to put a little money on LaFleur being 3 at 45, the extension, or somewhere in that area. That is pretty much where I said I wanted it, 13 to 15 million, Charlie. So if it's 3 at 45, and if he's going to put a little money on it, that means he's got something going on over there on his side of the world. So I'll take his word for that. Then at the end there, he shot down this whole idea of changing structure back to the way that it was, that everything stays the same, which to me makes more sense the way this went down. Because if they were changing structure, then in my mind, Goody had to be done first, and then Goody makes the call on the head coach. But if it's staying the same and Policy is in charge of both of them, and the other doesn't relate to the other, LaFleur doesn't relate to Goody, doesn't matter what Goody thinks or whatever, then it makes more sense by the way how it went down.
And I think after watching how the John Harbaugh situation went down in New York, that would make sense to allow Matt LaFleur to report directly to Ed Policy instead of having to go through Brian Gutekunst.
Yep.
John Harbaugh in Baltimore, I know Matt LaFleur isn't John Harbaugh, doesn't have the experience of John Harbaugh, but in Baltimore was just reporting straight to the owners, and that's part of the reason the Giants deal didn't get done right away is because he wanted to have that same kind of connection in New York, but they were making him go through Joe Schoen in the initial contract. He ended up getting what he wanted. I think Matt LaFleur deserves to have that too, instead of saying, oh, you get knocked back a little bit, go talk to now your second boss, instead of just being like, let's just do this all together.
Here's Charlie using C Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Take a quick time out. Come back on the other side. There's been some wild stuff being said out there about Caleb Williams. Wild stuff. One just made me laugh hysterically, and we're going to play that for you and ask you an interesting question. In a world of tenders, Wendy's decided to make something more juicy, more crispy, and more dippable. New chicken tenders are here. Some may call them tendies, and yes, it's fun to say and even more fun to eat. Wendy's new chicken tendies come with an insane new sauce lineup. New Wendy's signature, new sweet chili, or new scorching hot. Choose one of the classics, honey barbecue, creamy ranch, or honey mustard. Whatever you choose, they're the perfect vessel to dip all of your tendies in. Wendy's new chicken tenders are just so juicy, crispy, and dippable. You'll remember them forever. Gotta have tendies. It's gotta be Wendy's. Wisconsin Sports Daily served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy C. Sparky Pfeiffer with you. How we doing here on a Monday? The sun is out, but it's horribly cold outside. So make sure you are bundled up and all ready to rock and roll when you get outside. We're going to get to that Caleb Williams topic, but we're running short on time here. Hey, I got a text that came in, Nikolai Law, talking text line. Sup, Sparky? Good to hear you again. Shouldn't the head coach be the highest paid employee on every team? I'll reference A.J. Brown, for instance, where players feel like they have more power than the coach. Now, if we take that text and if you rewind it back in time to say Vince Lombardi and those guys where dudes are having to work 2 jobs, work a job in the offseason, whatever else, and Vince Lombardi's like, I'm done with you. Out you go. Hey, what are you going to do? Now, if a quarterback and a coach don't get along, or a superstar player in the NBA and a coach don't get along, whatever, who's going to be the fall guy? More times than not, it's going to be the coach. Now, maybe after the 3rd coach, maybe the player eventually gets shown the door. But that initial issue between a player and a coach, 9 out of 10 times, it is going to come down to the head coach. Now, does a coach making $20 million a year in Andy Reid, does that get him out of that conversation? If LaFleur is making $15 million a year, like Tom Silverstein was hinting at there in the last interview, does that get him out of that conversation? That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's hard to get out of. And a lot of these coaches are getting paid a lot.
Those are guaranteed money. This isn't non-guaranteed deals for head coaches in the National Football League.
Aren't as many of the bonuses sneaking in there for playing too many games. Like a lot of these players, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, you'd want the highest ranking person in any business to usually be the highest paid person in said business. The problem is the coach isn't always the highest ranking person. Sometimes a player does have more say than the coach. They just won't come out and say that directly to you. Yeah, a guy like Giannis. Yep. And I'm sure A.J. Brown has a lot of say in that Eagles locker room and in that Eagles front office too. I'm sure they listen to him. That's part of the reason he's still on that team, because most front offices, if they didn't respect him that way, probably would have just traded him because he's just a problem for the most part.
I don't know what I'd have to look at his contract in the break. I would imagine he's done it for this.
Yeah, I would think so. They I don't think can afford that with how many other people they got to play
there in the playoffs.
Devontae Smith looked better than him for a majority of the season. I mean, there's guys like that still have the power. And on the other side, this is not like a normal job. These are guys that are going out there and, frankly, a lot of them risking their futures to go and bang their heads against other guys and their bodies and just get hurt. Coaches aren't doing that. Those guys probably deserve the money. Those are who you're watching, not the coaches.
That's absolutely right. You don't pay your ticket to go watch a coach on the sidelines of an NBA game, or go watch a coach in the NFL. It's definitely not a manager in Major League Baseball who sits out in a dugout the entire time. You're definitely not doing that. Now, maybe there are situations that are maybe a little bit different, right? Maybe it's a manager that has a propensity to get into big verbal altercations with the umpire and throw dirt and all that. Okay, maybe one of those guys, you're like, man, I hope he loses his mind. Like, for instance, we were at the Milwaukee Admirals game on Friday night. Our Cub Scout pack went or whatever. And what happens? You've got people that want to see fights. They don't even care who the players are involved. It was the Admirals and the Wolves, Chicago, so it was a rivalry. And then they kids, fight. We want to see a fight. And then you want to know what happened? As we get towards the end of the game, the Admirals have their deal where you get a free Frosty like the Bucks if you score 4 or more goals. So towards the end, the kids behind us, we want a Frosty. We want a Frosty. Kid behind me goes, I don't care if they lose at this point. I just want a damn Frosty. And they got the Frosty and they lost. And then you're like, I can't believe we lost. I turned around and said, you said you didn't care if they lost. So I don't want to hear from you. And the kids started laughing. He was probably like 13, 14 years old. Hey, one thing that we do know for sure, and that is, anytime you are injured and need a representative for you, Habish, and Rotier have your back. They've been around since 1930. Now, it's been Habish, and whatever, but for your whole life growing up, Habish is a name you've always seen on TV, heard about on the radio, seen in the newspaper, whatever the case may be, for good reason. They have built from 1930 till now to have a national reputation. And they do that hometown service like nobody else can. And They're all over the state, 13 different locations. You're listening to the game in Wausau. Yeah, they're in Wausau. You're listening to WNFL in Green Bay and Appleton. Yep, they're in Appleton too. Yeah, they're in Green Bay as well. So take advantage of it. Get a hold of them today. They're my guys over at Habish.com. Habish and Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. Coming up on the other side, Bill Bender, live from Miami at the national championship game, joins us on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is time again as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Charlie Usen over there. Still to come, Charlie's Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. His top 3 sounds from around the world of sports. Looking forward to that. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here after this segment and talk about all of this Freddie Peralta trade rumor stuff going on with the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll do that coming up in the next segment. Joining us now from Miami, where the national championship game is going to happen. It's Indiana and Miami tonight. He is Bill Bender from the Sporting News, senior writer over there. Follow him on X at BillBender92. Bill, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, man. So I'm sure you're happy that the national championship is in Miami versus, like, say, Indianapolis or something. I would assume that's obviously a good thing. But nobody, I don't think, at the beginning of the year probably bought in all the way that Cignetti would have Indiana at this game this year.
I didn't have them in the playoffs. I mean, I had them, in the top 25, but to replicate what they did last year and do it in even more dominating fashion, I know it's getting billed as, greatest story in college football history. And in some senses it is, but how it's not really an underdog story tonight. I mean, they are the 8.5-point favorites. So that only adds to it. It's improbable. It's fun. I've done a couple, I think this is like 8 or 9 championship games for us in Sporting News. And I'm as excited to cover this one as I have for any of those.
My producer is a big Miami Hurricanes fan. He's decked out in his Hurricanes gear. I asked him in the break, I was like, so what do you think tonight? He's like, I just hope they kind of keep it close. That's all I'm hoping for at this point. And he called them a machine is what he called Indiana. And it kind of feels like that's what it is. I mean, you put, ranked opponents in front of Cignetti's Hoosiers, and they just steamroll them. They don't beat them. They steamroll them.
Right. I mean, you're still Miami, right? You're still one of the better defenses in the country. I'm a little disappointed they're not wearing the orange pants, from the old Orange Bulls from my youth, and, see if they can wake that up a little bit. But there is a formula for them to win, and it's similar to the one that they used to beat Ohio State, where there was nobody gave them a chance to win that game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line is massive. I mean, these are massive offensive tackles, Markel and CC. So, I mean, if you can run the ball, the biggest key for this game, and I don't know if you agree or not, they can't let Indiana run all over them. If Indiana gets that running game humming early, could be a long night.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Where do you give the quarterback advantage to, the senior citizen and Carson Beck or Mendoza?
I mean, we've tried all week to try to find something to nitpick about Fernando Mendoza, and I just don't think we can. He's incredible. Nice kid off the field. Homegrown kid, been just so deadly accurate. And I'm going to tell you, you'll know at first third down, if it's like 3rd and 9, look for the back shoulder fade to Elijah Surratt, who I think is a guy that's going to play in the league. I think Elijah's like the type of receiver that I could see playing in the league for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And he just makes the right decisions at the right time. So I got to go Mendoza on that one.
The other part about this too is Cristobal, maybe doesn't get talked as much about as Cignetti, but Cristobal's coaching career has been pretty damn good too. And even though, he's a younger version of Cignetti's first head coaching job didn't come until he was 49 or whatever, I don't think people should overlook how good Cristobal is and what he does.
Oh, I mean, this run's been great. He's been criticized at times for, the late game flops, and those things happen. But in this playoff run, I mean, 3 fourth-quarter touchdown drives that have clinched games. The stop against Texas A&M late, intense. Again, going back to the Miami theme, he's from here. It means something. He gets tired of the comparisons to the heyday from the 80s and 90s. And I think he's got a point there, because we'll never see something like that again. All you have to do is go look at like the 1987 Miami roster and see how many Pro Football Hall of Famers are on it. You know what I mean?
But wait a minute. But hold on now. I mean, you say that, but I mean, is Cignetti possibly building something here at Indiana where they might be able to put together a run themselves?
Hey, stop writing my column right now. I'm actually doing this. It's different in some ways, though. And I think, the interesting part of it to me is I don't think they're going away. Like, I don't think this is a one-off.
Right.
And the way he uses the portal, it's not like the Alabama or Miami dynasty by any means, but they're building something here where it's a threat to the Big Ten. My entire adult life has been Ohio State, Michigan, some Wisconsin, some Michigan State. Indiana's really threatening that with what they're accomplishing here.
It's been really fun to watch, at least. And again, as a Badger fan, we suck. So there's no harm in rooting for Indiana. Bill Bender, Sporting News senior writer. Follow him on X at Bill Bender 92. Before we switch to Wisconsin for a couple minutes, are you taking Indiana like everybody else tonight?
I am, but I kind of, this is not a hedge, but my initial prediction was like 31-19. I think it's going to be something like 28-17. The word machine fits there, but I think for Miami to hang around in this game, looking outside it, the stadium probably about 50-50. Miami definitely has to get off to a fast start, and I think they'll play that underdog card as far as they can. It just won't be enough to beat this Indiana team.
I'm trying to type it in. Most points here. Look this up, Charlie. Most points scored in a national championship college football game. I mean, I know there's not a long history here, but I would imagine Cignetti probably knows the number and is going to try and just absolutely wipe it off the field before it's all said and done.
It was that Georgia team a couple years ago.
65-7 over TCU.
Woo. All right, he's not going to get 65 on Miami, so I take that back. Hey, I want to get your thoughts real quickly here, Bill, on the Badgers, because there is some moderate level of excitement, I guess, about the Badgers and the money they're spending in the portal, which seems to be quite a bit more than they've spent in the past. What have you made of what Wisconsin's done so far?
Like the quarterback pickup, like the commitment to it. I think in some cases it's just easy to fire the coach, but I've always liked Luke, dating back to his days at Ohio State and Cincinnati. He's a really good, program man, and he's classy. I like Luke Fickell, and I think now you're giving him a little more resources. You can push into that here. I mean, and a lot of these Big Ten schools like Nebraska, Iowa, and Wisconsin have to be asking themselves at the higher levels, hey, if Indiana can do it, why can't we?
Correct. That has to be it. One last one, because I forgot. So you said classy, which is not Ben Johnson, but you're a Packers fan. So your thoughts on keeping LaFleur and Gutekunst?
At first, like everybody else, I was very emotional about it. I just don't want to watch the same movie anymore. I mean, make the adjustments. It was obviously a heartbreaking loss, and it does keep continuity. Once I thought through Harbaugh, I was like, no, let's keep Matt LaFleur. Let's keep this going and have them be healthy next year with Kraft and Parsons. And since you guys already know I'm a Packers fan, I didn't necessarily feel bad about the end of that game last night.
No, absolutely not. No, I don't feel bad about the end of that game last night either. My producer Charlie, he feels bad. So, but he'll be fine. He'll get over it. Bill, I appreciate you, man. Have fun down in Miami, bud.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Take care. There he is, Bill Bender. Follow him on X at Bill Bender 92. He's down at the national championship game. Senior writer for the Sporting News. We have Bill on all the time, so I was glad he could spare a few minutes and check in with us down there. Bucks, they get a win earlier this afternoon after blowing a sizable lead, 112-110. And what does that mean for you? That means you win as well. When the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. After every Bucks win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosty classic. No purchase necessary. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win, so act fast and get that free small frosty classic today at Wendy's. That win over the Hawks, who came in 20-25, so they're not good either. For the Bucks, 30 points and 17 rebounds, 6 assists. Giannis only had 12 field goal attempts on 30 points, on 21 points, I should say, 30 minutes. So 21 and 17 for him. Let's see, 18 points for AJ Green on 6 of 12 shooting from 3. Ryan Rollins, 14 points on 6 of 12 shooting. 19 for Bobby Portis off the bench, 8 of 15 shooting. And obviously you have to look at the rebound numbers because that's something I always look at with this team. Bucks got out rebounded 51-47 and still won the game in large part because the Hawks couldn't shoot threes. 29% from 3 for the Atlanta Hawks. The Bucks shoot 44% from three. That obviously is the biggest difference in this basketball game. I would like to tell you that the Bucks have to win games they're supposed to, but based on the record, there's not a lot of games they're supposed to win. I mean, if you look at this game here between these two teams, the Bucks with the win are 6 under. The Hawks with the loss are now 5 under. The Bucks 18-24, Hawks 20-25, and you're on the road on top of everything else here, playing a very weird start time of noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern time for the Bucks. So that's kind of like playing a morning game. Normally, NBA teams do not like playing games that early in the day. For them to get that win, that's a nice win for the Bucks.
I guess so, but they were also blowing out this team at halftime and into the third quarter, and then they gave up that huge lead that they had going into that fourth quarter. I mean, yeah, I guess we can be excited about it, but as Giannis keeps putting out there, he's here to win basketball games. He's here to compete, and for you to have a game like this, I don't think that's really a game most people should be that happy about coming out of, I guess.
Yes, exactly right. That is exactly 110% correct. Now, the other part about this too with this Bucks team is you have the NBA trade deadline coming up here as we're getting closer to it. You have Brian Windhorst and everybody else under the sun talking about, well, there's still a possibility. Teams aren't still convinced necessarily that they're going to do something with Giannis. Hey, man, I don't know. But if you were asking me what's more likely, the Bucks trade Giannis or the Bucks trade for a bad salary and a has-been player, probably I would lean towards the bad salary and has-been player to try and make Giannis feel better about things for the second half of the season. Now, whether that's going to be a guy that's not a has-been, but a Ja Morant, a Zach LaVine, I mean, those type of guys, could something like that pop? Would it surprise me? No, it wouldn't. But we're going to see really how invested they truly are, the Milwaukee Bucks, and doing everything in their power to save Giannis, versus are we getting to a point now where they have to now open one of their two eyes that have been shut for the last 5 years and look ahead to the future and go, okay, what are we going to do when this is done? Like, are we going to be in a position to not bury ourselves for the next 10 years after this by continuously kicking the can down the road, trading draft picks down the road, and not caring about the future and just living in the present only? At some point, you would think they open an eye up and go, I can't deal that 31 draft pick, or no, I can't deal that 32 draft pick. I got to protect myself here at some point. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's next year, but at some point you would think they have to start protecting future assets.
You would think so. The league, you can see it across the NBA, is just starting to reset a little bit. You're seeing a lot of the young stars start to have their breakout moments, and a lot of the older stars start to have their twilight years come to them now. LeBron James, his career is at the end here. Steph Curry, his career is starting to come to the end. Kevin Durant, his career is starting to come to the end. You're starting a lot of these young players that are going to be the faces of this league. Giannis isn't at that point of those other guys yet, but the way the conversations have been swirling around the Bucks over the past couple of years, and you kind of have to plan ahead for a world where he is not on this team or is not in the NBA. And to do that, you have to start thinking about the value of those future draft picks and what they could mean to you as a franchise, where the rest of the league is also resetting at this moment, and how you can reset to eventually.
Right. And that's the thing, right? How does the reset happen? And how long of a rebuild or reload or whatever the case may be? That has to be at the top of minds of the people over there in the front office for the Milwaukee Bucks, you would think. All right, that's enough about the Bucks. Let's talk about the Milwaukee Brewers, as these Freddie Peralta rumors will simply not die about the Brewers taking calls on Freddie Peralta. You've got the poll question up, Charlie?
I do indeed.
The poll question is up. Now, why don't you read the poll question? Because I say something, Charlie, like my kids, don't listen and do what they want. So go ahead. What do you got?
All right. So the question is, where are you at with a Freddie Peralta trade? You have 4 options. Spark initially just said 3, but I had a 4th one on there. The first option is absolutely not. You don't want to trade Freddie Peralta at all. The second option is it has to be a great deal. So you mostly don't want to trade him, but there's a little bit of you that says if the right people are out there, go and do it. Third option is going to be hard to say no, kind of the opposite of that last one. You're mostly in for trading him, but there could be some deals that are just not good enough. And the last option is see ya, Freddie.
See ya, Freddie. Right. So, I mean, those are your options. We'll discuss where you are on this deal with Freddie Peralta. So, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Sparky here, Charlie using over there. We're done with that national championship game. Can't imagine there's a better place to go watch that game tonight than the Potawatomi Sportsbook, man. 2 levels, 2,000 square foot center screen. You are not going to find a better place. There's just absolutely no chance. You can go down there, make your wagers, free parking, right, at the Potawatomi Sportsbook like we always talk about. Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen, man. All kinds of great options there. You got the all-day brunch going on. You got burgers, wraps, wings, salads, whatever the case may be. They got everything, plus homemade desserts and pastries. So do that today. I don't know if it's sold out or not. I probably could have texted over there and asked. But if it's not sold out, you go on there and guarantee yourself a seat by reserving it ahead of time. Go to Potawatomi.com to have that opportunity to do that. There is also a nominal fee, but that goes towards your food and beverage costs at night. So there is that goes along with it. So if you do go, you'll be in a good situation there. So check out Potawatomi Sportsbook today. All right, so lots of rumors floating around one Freddie Peralta. Now, first off, let's just say this. Nobody is saying that the Milwaukee Brewers are shopping Freddie Peralta. Now, there is a distinct difference in whether or not somebody is shopping Freddie Peralta versus if people are calling on Freddie Peralta, right? So, for instance, right, Charlie is our illustrious producer here. He hosts Wisconsin Sports Weekend, all that stuff. Well, if all of a sudden we're getting calls and it's like, hey, man, I know he's your producer, but we really could use him in New York at the Fan in New York. Or, man, I could really use him down in Phoenix or blah, blah, blah. We'll give him this amount of dollars. Okay, well, people are calling with interest and trying to take Charlie from Milwaukee to one of our other sister stations around the country. That's one thing. The other way of that is Charlie's applying for jobs and trying to get himself the heck out of here. Those are two different things. The Brewers not trying to get Freddie Peralta the heck out of Milwaukee. That's not what's happening here, Charlie.
No, not at all. This is, again, a lot of teams seeing the type of season that Freddie Peralta had last year and seeing that he's probably going to be, if he sticks with this team next season, potentially the third starting pitcher in that rotation and say, you know what, we could put him in a lot more valuable position on our team. We could use that. That's something that a lot of teams are going to be interested in.
Absolutely right. So John Heyman, who's been on this show numerous times, MLB Network Insider, New York Post as well, a couple days ago said Brewers continue to field offers an ace pitcher, Freddie Peralta, a free agent after 26. Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Giants, and Braves among many, many interested teams. Peralta, $8 million salary means anyone can afford, including the Brewers, but extension will be tougher for the small markets to do. Now, from the Brewers' perspective, this is simple. So let's say it's the Athletics. They're not mentioned. Let's say it's the Athletics. I kind of like what the Athletics farm system looks like. They're probably not going to be able to extend them. So for them, it's, okay, I'll give you A and B because I can't extend them. But Hector Gomez reported that the Dodgers are heavily pursuing Freddie Peralta right now as well. Well, if it's the Dodgers, we know they can afford to extend him. You're going to pay me more in prospects or current players or whatever, because I know he's going to be there with you long term. Either way, the Brewers are in a position now where literally before it was, well, hey, we don't want to trade him, but we're not going to pick up the phone. We're in Milwaukee. We cannot not pick up the phone. We can't just say blindly, no, we're not trading him. No, I don't care what you offer. We're not trading him. Don't bother. Don't waste your time. We're saying no. They have to take the calls, because if somebody blows their socks off and they think it can be a game changer for the next 5 to 10 years with 2 superstar prospects or something like that, Charlie, they have to listen.
They have to. And I think that a lot of these teams that we're talking about potentially trading for him, yes, they have the money to trade for him, but at the same time, I think a lot of these organizations also know that Freddie Peralta is going to be in kind of a weird salary space when he does ask for the eventual number that he's looking for. So I think at some point here, he's probably going to be too expensive for his value to some of these bigger teams, but then he's just going to be too expensive overall to a lot of these smaller market teams. in my mind, I think, yes, you go and you listen to these offers from these other teams and you see what they're willing to give you. But based on what we saw teams offer up for a guy like Devin Williams, who I think they thought was probably in a lot of the same like kind of realm of salary type of discussions as a Freddie Peralta is, where he may be too expensive to keep around for what his value is to one of these bigger clubs, but just not or too expensive overall for these smaller teams. Freddie Peralta's in that same kind of boat. So I think the Brewers are going to get lowballed a little bit in some of these clubs' offers. On the other side of things, the Dodgers just got ranked as one of the best farm systems in the MLB and have a surplus of players that I'm sure the Brewers would be willing to look at. They love their prospects. On the other side of things from that argument, though, the Brewers have plenty of prospects that they could potentially move on from here, too, to make their team more impressive. So how valuable is really a prospect to them at this point in their building of this team?
So this is something that Tommy Wirtz and I were talking about earlier today off the air as far as, okay, if you move on from Freddie Peralta, what then does it look like? Now, our poll question is up right now, and obviously we'll open up the phone lines and text lines as well. Charlie, go ahead. Give them their 4 options.
So where are you at with a Freddie Peralta trade? Absolutely not. It has to be a great deal. Going to be hard to say no or see ya, Freddie.
So the number is quite simple to remember. Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, streaming live on X and on YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Also, if you miss any of the shows or interviews, you want to go back and listen to the podcast, all you got to do is go to wisportsradio.com, wisportsradio.com to go back and check all of that fun stuff out. But when you are the Milwaukee Brewers, what is it that you need right now in exchange for Freddie Peralta? And if you look at the Brewers right now, they're pretty deep in starting pitching as it sits. But I would assume that this is going to be a situation where the Mets make a lot of sense because you have 3 guys that are right now potential major league starters next year for somebody, right? I mean, you've got Brandon Sproat, I believe is his name. He's one. You have Tong, who's another one who had an ERA just south of 8 when they called him up last year to pitch. And then McLean, who's an absolute stud, but they're not going to move him for Freddie Peralta. But if you were to get, say, Tong in something else in exchange for Freddie Peralta, I think you have to be really, really careful to say no to that deal if you have a pitcher that could be an absolute stud under control for the next few years that you don't got to pay a lot of money to.
Well, and a pitcher like that, you're going to be working with a Chris Hook, so that's going to help you out a lot. And you could potentially, because you traded away a Nick Mears, kind of put him in a mid-relief role to start off and see if he can be successful there and then move him to the rotation in the future.
Okay, but what's the rotation? If you were to move on from Freddie Peralta, right, what is the rotation? Because you're talking about Brandon Woodruff is the one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if Peralta's there or not. Woodruff is the one. Then what? Mizorowski,
Priester,
Patrick,
you're solid, man.
Right? I mean, you've got guys.
Logan Henderson. You go out there, get a veteran guy like you did with
still there that they like.
Go out there, get a veteran guy like Jose Quintana, like you did last year to fill in a
back
role.
On another 1-year, $5 million
Maybe
deal.
You want to try an Aaron Ashby or DL Hall back in the starting role again. Both those guys are options. I mean, you have plenty of options.
Are you in a position where you can say no?
Yes and no. I think there's, for the Milwaukee Brewers, again, if the offer is outlandish, like they're going to go out there and give you 3 top 20 prospects from their team for a Freddie Peralta or a starter caliber player at the MLB level and 2 top 30 prospects for a Freddie Peralta, that's going to be kind of hard to turn down for Milwaukee Brewers team that just last year was in the National League Championship game or series. This is something where I think the Milwaukee Brewers, yes, you are in control of the cards here. A lot of these teams, again, like we said, are calling you for Freddie Peralta. You're not out there selling Freddie Peralta. That means you hold the power in a lot of these discussions. Yeah, I think you are in position to say no if you feel like he helps your team go now. But if there's a trade that is hard to turn down, I mean, you have to take it.
This is a tough deal for the Brewers because this is not a salary deal. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about here. This is not the Brewers going, oh boy, we paid Brandon Woodruff and now we have to trade Freddie Peralta. That's not what this is. They don't have to trade Freddie Peralta. Salary-wise, they're fine. They do not have to move on from Freddie Peralta. Now, the other part about this is, can you take Freddie Peralta? Can you take a couple of prospects, Charlie, and ship them off for a superstar player, which is something nobody is really talking about. But what if they took Peralta, packaged him with a couple of their prospects, and went and got a superstar hitter that's making a good amount of money for the middle of this lineup? Everybody's assuming Peralta's going for prospects, but what if this ended up being Peralta and a couple of prospects for a big hitter?
I mean, we brought up Atlanta before, and all last season, especially towards the trade deadline when he was having a down year, Austin Riley was a guy I was talking about. He's a former All-Star. When he's healthy and on that field, I think he's a guy who's going to give you a ton of value at that third base position. And he did get a contract extension with Atlanta, but it's not their biggest contract on that team. So he's going to be down there a little bit. I think that's the most valuable player you can get for the price point that the Brewers are willing to pay a player. And if you were to trade two prospects and Freddie Peralta, I'm sure Atlanta would pay some of that contract. You see that happen with a lot of guys being traded.
So Austin Riley's deal isn't much different than Yelich's deal. I mean, we're talking about $21.2 million on average, $22 million a year, but that deal is 10 years long. I mean, there is something else that goes along with that.
He's been a guy that can't stay healthy either.
Correct.
So.
That deal ends in 2034 at age 37. It's got a contract option, a club option, I should say, in 2033. But like you said, he cannot stay healthy. He just got through his RB year. So 26 would be the first year he would have hit free agency had he not signed that deal. This offseason, he would have been in free agency right now, and he would have made more than $22 million is my guess.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think you could go and offer, again, a Freddie Peralta, maybe one of the younger third base prospects that you have in your system, because Andrew Fisher is just flying up the national rankings as a prospect at that third base position. It's like a Brock Wilken, who another guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy but has potential there. And then one of your shortstop prospects, because you have a billion of those, go for your fourth or fifth shortstop prospect and see what happens.
I also look at something else here too. I think if you're the Milwaukee Brewers, we just had Harris Tuer on, part owner of the Brewers, last week, remember? And I asked him again, Harris, are you staying with this is going to be a higher payroll than last year? And he said, yeah, we're going to have a higher payroll than last year. I'm not changing, not getting off that stance. I'm staying on my stance. Maybe they're going to shock the world and do something here. I mean, do they get Suarez on a 1-year deal?
I mean, I guess
do they get Suarez 1 year and $20 million or whatever it may be?
I wouldn't be saying I'm jumping out of my shoes because I'm so excited Eugenio Suarez is coming to the Milwaukee Brewers.
But that would give you a bat at third base. That'd give you some power.
It would, but when we're talking about other like blockbuster trades like this,
but this wouldn't be a trade. It would be a signing.
It would be a signing. You'd be able to keep Freddie Peralta.
You give no prospects up. You give nothing up.
Again, the way Suarez finished last season, I'm just not as excited about that, especially at his age. A 1-year deal is enticing. If it's a multi-year deal, I don't think I want to do it.
Another one, Ketel Marte is another one that's been dangled out there for a while. Now, is that a guy that you go get? Because from a Brewers perspective, it's like, dude, we're loaded with middle infielders. Like, why would you go give up all of this stuff for Marte when you have all of these middle infielders coming up in the farm system?
I just think Marte is going to be a guy that Arizona is going to have a huge asking price for. When, again, he's healthy, he's an MVP caliber player. I know Austin Riley has that type of peak, but it's not consistent. Ketel Marte is a consistent MVP caliber player when he's at his best. And Arizona just made a big trade and signing in their own right. I think they're looking to compete too. That would be hard to get him away from Arizona.
As of the 9th, apparently Hazen doesn't want to trade. Their general manager is done taking talks for Ketel Marte. Now, we don't know if the Brewers are involved in those or not. It would make sense for them to say no if they plan on Terang being the answer long-term at second base. And if you look at long-term answers for this Brewers team right now, catcher, no. Contreras is going to be gone, right? So that's not the long-term. Terang is long-term, probably on the infield at this point. Is there anybody else? No. And then in the outfield, where's your long-term answers there? Jackson Churio. Maybe Frelick?
Maybe.
But, I mean, Churio and Terang, I think, are probably the only long-term position players that you look at right now and go, yeah, they're probably here for the long haul. The rest of them all could be replaced in the next 3 or 4 years.
But I think a lot of those players are also going to be trying to prove that they can be long-term pieces this year. I think right now I'm kind of 50-50 on Andrew Vaughn. I still want to see what Garrett Mitchell can do if he can stay on the field.
Yeah, I get both
a lot of those players.
Yep.
I think there's guys that can play themselves into being long-term options here.
Coming up next, we will get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Sparky here. Charlie Usen over there talking in the break about the coaches that are out there. About all this talk about Raheem Morris to the Packers. Let me tell you something about Raheem Morris real quick. Because I saw Ross Uglum was tweeting about this. I love Ross Uglum. He's one of my guys. But, man, I don't understand for the love of God what the deal is with all the nonsense talk about Raheem Morris and why everybody loves Raheem Morris. I don't know if I can even find it. If you go look at his stats as defensive coordinator outside of the Rams, when he had a loaded defense where they were paying ungodly amounts of money on the defense, that's when Jalen Ramsey was good, right? Mm-hmm. You had Aaron Donald, who was dominant up front.
Von Miller was on
that team. They were absolutely loaded. It's like, well, when he had talent, this defense don't have that talent. The Packers don't have that. They got Micah Parsons. They don't got the rest of it. Like, that's no. Just stop with all that nonsense. Now, McDermott's going to probably go from Buffalo to another head coaching job, more than likely. But if he's available, yeah, I'd listen to McDermott. I've told y'all I want Schwartz in Cleveland. But if that's not going to happen, I'd be open to McDermott coming here, but I do not want Raheem Morris.
I don't know if the Raheem Morris thing is really whether or not he's a good defensive coordinator.
Guy.
He's a guy who's going to come in and be able to replace Rich Bisaccia as kind of that assistant head coach is what they're hoping. But he also hasn't got a locker room to buy into him yet in his 2 stints as a head coach. So why do you think he'll be able to do that?
Thank you.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, time to get to our Sounds of the Day, brought to you by Prize Picks. Charlie, what do we got?
All right, first up here, you brought it up earlier when you were talking with Bill Bender. Miami quarterback Carson Beck was doing his pregame press conferences this past weekend before the national championship, and a younger reporter asked him if he had class last week with all the festivities going on in Miami. This is Carson Beck's response.
What has it been like being you as a student this week, particularly yesterday?
No class. I graduated 2 years ago, so obviously I've been working towards other degrees now that I've gotten to Miami, but these programs take a little longer than just a year to finish. So obviously I'm not enrolling again next semester, so I will be done after this season. But man, it's been awesome for this university, for this fan base, for this city, especially to have the opportunity to play in Hard Rock. You can see it. I mean, we're walking out of the facility yesterday. There's a ton of fans, a ton of people. Everyone's screaming, yelling, cheering. So it's been an awesome opportunity for this team, and I know all of us are super excited about it.
So my question initially is, do they make him do any type of classes regardless to say he's a student athlete? Or can you just sit there and collect your check, go to football practice, be chilling at your condo, apartment, house, whatever? If you're Carson Beck at this point, the man's a millionaire. So he does not have to be going to class worrying about anything.
They definitely do still have to be in some kind of class. I think the one thing that a lot of people are kind of ignoring with this clip, so usually people have been cutting it like right when he says, oh, I didn't go to class. He mentions that he's taking like advanced degrees. He's been done with class because it is January and most colleges are on their break right now. Right. So nobody's in class. So I think a lot of people are like being way too hard on him on this. At the same time, the fact that he's like a 7th year dude taking BS classes, if we're being honest, because I don't think he's learning that much from the ones that he's taking. Yeah, he's still taking classes, but it is a little weird that he's that free and open talking about it.
I remember, Badger fans, when Russell Wilson got to Wisconsin from North Carolina State, he had graduated too. So it wasn't like he came here and had to finish his degree at Wisconsin. That's not how that went. So not 7th year, though. Not 7th year. 5th year, not 7th year, but still kind of similar. All right, what do you got next?
All right, next up here, we're going to head on over down to Miami, where new Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan was discussing how he plans to make changes to the Dolphins.
Love it.
That's what we're all here to do. At the end of the day, if you broke it down to one word, we're here to win. And then within that, our division runs through Buffalo and New England and New York, cold weather places. There's a saying in our business, fast gets slow, but big doesn't get small. So understand, like, we're not going to sacrifice speed and explosion and skill for a bunch of big, stiff guys. but we are going to have substance to us at all levels of our team, at corner, at receiver, at running back, and certainly up front. We will build this team, starts with the quarterback, and then we will build this team from the inside out. We got to be dominant on the offensive line, dominant on the defensive line, and then explosive and athletic on the perimeter where we can attack all three levels of the field, and it gives that offensive coordinator flexibility to call the game the way that he wants to call the game, most importantly in any element.
Follow up, John Eric Sullivan, whatever your name is. A follow up. Hey, what was the last time the Packers had a dominant defensive line? Well, when was the last time your front four got home before Micah Parsons to actually do it consistently in Green Bay? I mean, he says what I believe, right? Got to be dominant up front, both sides, offensive line, defensive line. Size matters, right? You don't want to be a stiff, but size does matter. Big dudes that can move a little bit, nimble on their feet, like Charlie Houston at left tackle, right? Back in the day. That's what we're looking for here. But man, that is not what they've put out there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, folks. So if that's been the philosophy up in Green Bay, then there has been some type of disconnect or miswiring or something that's occurred with that defensive line, because Lucas Van Ness, no. Wooden is not size. Brooks is not size. I mean, those guys, both those guys, especially Brooks, is a little bit more undersized, can get upfield, but not a big, wide body guy. You had a wide body guy in Slayton. You let him just walk out the door and go somewhere else, and you've been struggling to replace him ever since. Then you had Devontae Wyatt. Okay. But again, like that has been, I would say for the most part, that's been a complete screw up as far as drafting and developing defensive linemen that where you can have only 4. Philadelphia was able to do it. The Giants back in the day were able to do it. The Niners consistently have been able to do it. And the Green Bay Packers cannot figure that part of it out, Charlie.
No, they can't. And I think that when we were talking about Freddie Peralta and the Brewers and other teams calling the Brewers instead of the Brewers calling those other teams, I think this is one of those situations where John Eric Sullivan, the way he was talking in this clip, tells me he was reaching out to other teams potentially, and maybe not teams reaching out to him as much.
I mean, he's been Goody's handcuffed dude for quite some time. So the fact that he finally gets a job is well-earned, well-deserved. Probably should have had one prior to this. I hope he does well in Miami. I think he's a good dude. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, what's next?
And last up here, we're going to head on over to the Rams at Chicago game from last night, where NBC sideline reporter Melissa Stark was sharing all the ways the Rams players were trying to stay warm last night.
Rams traveled with over 2,000 pounds of cold weather gear, including wetsuits, thermal layers, and capes. They have plenty of hot chocolate and chicken broth down here on the sideline. Matthew Stafford and Davante Adams both have experience playing in the cold and know exactly what they like to wear. For Matthew, he has a scuba top under his jersey to keep his core warm. Davante has a special jersey with a hand warmer built into it. And get this, some of the Rams have put cayenne pepper in their socks. Yes, just like this one that you can buy at the grocery store. I'm told it brings heat and it keeps the blood flowing, Kaylee. Whatever works.
Yeah, I got this on social media. Puna Ford, the nose tackle for the Rams, explains the whole thing on X, talking about it, and shows his sock covered in cayenne pepper. Yeah, it's a real thing. She didn't make it up. They were out there using it.
I saw like a couple people were responding to this video and that clip of Puna Ford, and were saying, just to let you know, like from like either doctor experience, yeah, it may keep your feet warm, gives you the warming sensation, but apparently it's like burning the skin cells on the bottom of their feet, so maybe they shouldn't continue to do that.
Shut up.
That's what a lot of people were saying.
Burning the skin cells.
Yeah, like it's just not good for you. So don't do that, I guess. Get hand warmers. They have like foot warmers for that. Just put those in your cleats or whatever.
It burns. Really?
That's what people were saying.
Man, I didn't see that.
I'm not a doctor. Maybe we can do our own tests.
No, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it.
We could get Mitch to do it, I bet.
Thunder would probably do it. But he'd want to know what he's going to use the cayenne pepper with. He'd probably want like something to put on it.
Probably. I think so. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can do a test.
I mean, nobody was more about food than Mitch Thunder Nellis.
Not a single person.
Hey, big game's almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups. You play your first $5 that you play. All you got to use the code SPARKY, SPARKY, Again, use the code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All we're doing is doing daily fantasy, right? More or less on daily stat projections that Prize Picks puts out. They have all the sports you could possibly imagine, all the different combinations of stat projections that you could possibly want as well. Plus, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. I did another Prize Pick over the weekend. I went power play, Charlie.
All right.
I was feeling uber confident that I was going to hit this bad boy.
Yeah, it looked good. I saw it.
I got half of them right.
No. All right, so then you can't even say the flex play would have been better for you.
So the max discount play was TJ Stroud, more than a half a passing yard. All right, took that. So that was one of the two I got right. Yep. Josh Allen, more than a half a passing touchdown. He had 3.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Now the 2 that I got wrong. Christian McCaffrey, more than a half a rushing and receiving touchdown. I don't think he even played in the second half.
No, didn't seem like it.
No, I don't think he was out there. And then Puka Nacua, more than a half of rushing or receiving touchdown. He also did not score.
No, he did not.
Took him right out. I mean, Stafford didn't even throw a touchdown pass in that game, man.
No, they couldn't get anything going, just like the Bears on offense. It was a defense-heavy game from two teams that you did not expect that from at all.
Just not good. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Sparky to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for more details. Sometimes you have those moments in life where you realize that you're getting older and whatever, man. So we were supposed to go to this open house for 3K Sunday morning, right before church, where we go to church. So she's got to dress up in a little school outfit that she wears because they have uniforms. It's private. So we get there. All the doors are locked. Oh, no, that's next weekend. Okay. So we go to church. Then I thought my kid was in city bowling tournament this weekend. I told you, singles and doubles. We get there. I go up, I ask, I'm like, is it singles or doubles first for scoring? Oh, no, it's team this week. That's next week, singles and doubles. So both things that I thought were this last weekend aren't actually till the upcoming weekend.
It's better to be early than late, Sparky. It's better to be early than late.
Green and Gold update coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. What have we learned about Ed policy? We'll find out next.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie using it over there. Tommy Wirtz, he'll be coming up from 5 to 6 with the Wisconsin Sports wrap-up like he does each and every night, except for Wednesday night. That's when him and the franchise, Tim Allen, give you Hot Stove Weekly from 5 to 7 o'clock. So again, Wednesday nights, Brewers baseball conversation with Hot Stove Weekly from 5 to 7 with Tommy Wirtz and the franchise, Tim Allen. Top of the 4 o'clock hour, which means this.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
I cannot wait to hear the responses to this. I really cannot wait. After hearing about the contract extensions for Matt LaFleur, and it appears Goody and Russ Ball are going to get one too, what have you learned about Ed Policy as president of the Green Bay Packers? What have you learned about Ed Policy? Coming into this, nobody really knew anything. There were some that thought he was going to be cutthroat and be different than Mark Murphy, maybe not have the patience of Mark Murphy, and would be really, truly all about whatever it takes to get it done at the end of the day, regardless of what the outcome was of different people. And instead, we learn that maybe he has more patience than a saint, does Ed Policy, as he extends Matt LaFleur. So what have you learned about Ed Policy? Nick Calais Law Talk and Text Line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials at WI Sports Radio, streaming live on X and on YouTube. If you miss any of the shows, podcast form, wisportsradio.com. Again, wisportsradio.com. This is what I learned. I learned that Ed Policy is like every other professional football team, and the fact that nobody was in a hurry to get rid of a coach that takes his team to the playoffs every year. That's what I learned. Oh, you want to talk on this show too, man? Tommy Wirtz isn't on enough shows. Now he wants to talk on this show.
Schefter just tweeted out it's official that the Dolphins are hiring former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their next head football coach.
Jeff Hafley to the Miami Dolphins as the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. What do you think Jeff Hafley is most excited about? The fact that he can wear shorts year-round now and he never, ever has to pack and have to worry about a winter jacket ever again in Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Yeah, only when he has to go to Buffalo twice a year, New England twice a year, New York twice a year.
It's actually worse than our division. You've got two
domes.
You got 2 domes in our division. It's actually worse in that division.
No state income tax. That's probably pretty cool too. Yeah.
That's true. So congratulations to Jeff Hafley. Now we can worry about hiring a defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. And there's plenty available because there's been 10 coaching staffs fired along this process. So plenty of coaches to pick from. Now the question is, how many guys will Hafley take from this Green Bay staff to go with him to Miami? And will this Green Bay staff all be essentially told, you're good, we're going to hire a new coordinator and let him hire his own coaches? Because that also is going to be a choice here, right? For the Green Bay Packers and Brian Gutekunst. Do they just relieve the defensive staff and say, hey, you're free to go seek other jobs. We're going to allow the new defensive coordinator to hire his own staff? Or do they fight to keep the guys on this staff from leaving to go work with Jeff Hafley in Miami? And we will see how much Jeff Hafley likes this offensive coaching staff. How many of these dudes will he come back and get? Will he come back and get Sean Mannion, who, remember, everybody thinks is all of that, right? In the East-West Shrine Bowl coming up, he's the offensive coordinator in that game. That was announced last week, the former Rams quarterback. So if he loves Mannion, like apparently everybody else does he come back and grab Mannion from quarterbacks coach and make him his offensive coordinator and let him call plays? Does he go get an established play caller for himself in Miami? And what to do with Tua in Miami now that Jeff Hafley is the head coach? Because Hafley's not a play caller. No, sir. No, he is not. So there will not be that type of relationship between head coach and quarterback like there was with Mike McDaniel and Tua. Then you've got the Lions hiring the Cardinals offensive coordinator today. That is more than fine with me. Good luck. Hope it all works out for you. I really don't hope it all works out well for you, but I'm fine with him going there versus, say, Mike McDaniel going there at this point. So we avoided that one. Doug and Racine, you're next on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. What's going on, Doug?
Hey, the LaFleur thing, that kind of depressed me. But once Micah Parsons, Giannis, said, I came here because of LaFleur, it was game over. I knew they weren't going to let him go. I just knew it because Micah Parsons, you don't want to rile him up. So I just knew it.
This is the thing, right? So now that Jeff Hafley is gone and is the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, now you get a position where the new defensive coordinator that comes in now gets Micah Parsons to play with, but also has to deal with the cornerbacks that are out there to play with. So does LaFleur go find a defensive coordinator that plays relatively the same style of defense as Hafley did?
I hope not. I hope we get somebody more rough and tumble and just knock them down.
Yeah, I agree with you. Doug,
let's do that.
Yep, I'm with you, Doug. That's what I want too. Thanks for the call. I agree. If you want it to be what you have, then yes, Raheem Morris, who's had no success outside of a star-studded defense with the Rams, by all means, go hire him, and we'll see how this goes. I'm guessing it won't be as good because he's not as good of a play caller as Hafley is. I'll tell you that right now. But again, y'all want to go indulge yourself and follow everybody leading the Raheem Morris bandwagon, have at it. I have no interest in the dude. I would prefer, like Doug said, somebody that is going to promote physicality and hitting people. Somebody that's going to promote aggressiveness and getting to the quarterback and getting tackles for losses and stripping the football and creating turnovers. And they're going to practice and practice and practice that aspect of it from OTAs through training camp during the season and change the mentality of that defense. And if we're being honest, there aren't a bunch of those guys in the National Football League as coordinators that are going to promote that type of style of football.
You have to find a guy who is content being a defensive coordinator if you want that type of football. That's what the Bears did when Dennis Allen got a shot to be a head coach in New Orleans, and it just went awfully. He was like, all right, I'm a defensive coordinator, and he went into Chicago and kind of had this mentality of, this is where I'm at. I'm going to go out there and make sure these guys are playing 100% because this is what I know I'm good at. The Packers need that type of guy. They can't really, in my mind, go out and get another Jeff Hafley who's going to be willing to leave right away after another 2 years of being the defensive coordinator of this team. It's got to be a guy that's willing to be in this and help Matt LaFleur build some kind of hurt or jumping point for this Packers team to get over that hurdle that they're at right now.
Think about this. Matt Nagy is interviewing for the second time with the Tennessee Titans. McCarthy has already interviewed multiple times for the Tennessee Titans job as well.
Apparently the Steelers job. Too.
And the Steelers job he's going to interview for, right? Can you explain to me why Steve Spagnuolo has not been given another opportunity to go be a head coach somewhere? I mean, he is arguably the best defensive coordinator in football, top 3 of nothing else. He's seen everything, experienced everything, and that dude's not even getting calls to be a head coaching candidate at this point. But Matt Nagy, who failed miserably, is going to get a chance to go be a head coach again? You've got to be kidding me. Then you've got the report, Andy Reid saying, hey, Eric Bieniemy, we're going to lose Nagy. Come on over here. Well, let's bring you home and put you back in our offense again.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Spagnuolo, I think, kind of fits that mindset in my mind that he knows he's a defensive coordinator, knows he's really good at being a defensive coordinator, and is going to go down as probably one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time after what he's done with the Chiefs over this time. He pairs well with Andy Reid. And then Eric Bieniemy is, again, kind of in that same mindset. I think he's learned now that he's not going to get the head coaching opportunities that I think he wants. And he had an offensive coordinator position outside of Kansas City in Washington, and it did not go well. He helped turn the Bears' run game around this season. he's a guy that I think knows he's an offensive coordinator. If he gets another shot to be an offensive coordinator with one of, again, the greatest franchises in the modern era of NFL, yeah, go and do that. There's no reason to go and chase a head coaching job if there's not a lot better out there.
Collector's Reign on X and on YouTube says they have Pro Bowlers on this defense and like none besides Jacobs on the offense. Okay, so let's see. Xavier McKinney, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary. Was he a Pro Bowler at some point? Yeah, I think he was. Never got double-digit sacks in his life.
Last year, I remember us talking about it.
So you've got those three, and Rashawn Gary, really, if we're being honest, that's fake. That doesn't count. So, I mean, the other two, fine, I'll give you the other two. But let's not act like this is the Rams defense like we were talking about earlier as far as, what Morris did in his travels along the National Football League. Might be a great guy. Players may love playing for him. That's fine. I'm just saying, if you look at the ranks defensively, I want somebody that has been to the mountaintop, that's proven to be a guy that when that guy's the coordinator of your defense, the opposing coaches know it's going to be a long day at the office because it's going to be physical, we're going to be bruised, and we're going to know we have played a football game. There are not many of those dudes in the National Football League, but that's what you've got to try and find. The thing that we don't know about Ed Policy, and the question again is this, after hearing about the contract extension from Matt LaFleur, what have you learned about Ed Policy? Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. What we don't know is he going to force the hand of LaFleur to make changes on that staff? Is he going to force him to move on from Rich Bisaccia? Is he going to force him to move on from Luke Butkus as offensive coordinator? Is he going to force him to move on from Adam Stenavich, the old offensive line coach, now current coordinator, who LaFleur said in a presser had been sitting in on the offensive lineman meetings as well? So he's going to get blamed in all of this too. Do they move on from all three of those cats and say, see ya, plus you lose your coordinator now to the Dolphins as head coach? I mean, come on.
Well, and you may not have a choice. Jeff Hafley has only been in the NFL for these past 2 years. Yeah. He only knows the one staff. And if it makes sense for him in his mind to go with the guys that he knows, he's going to bring as much of that staff as he can on over to the Miami Dolphins and give them more important positions. If Adam Stenavich gets the shot to call plays in Miami, of course he's going to take that, and he's going to leave on his own. And if he leaves on his own, maybe he takes Luke Butkus with him because they have worked together now at this point and they pair well together. I think no matter what, Matt LaFleur and this front office have to start thinking about changes, whether it's their hand that's forcing it or somebody else's hand.
920 JB in the 920. I've learned he understands this organization is about stability and isn't an idiot. That's from JB in the 920. You and I agree on something, JP. Look at that. How about that? That's a good one. I've also learned that Matt Ryan is either a moron or a genius, and we'll find out in 4 years. Why would you hire Stefanski over Hafley? Well, that, I mean, I think it's really
two-time coach of the year,
two-time coach of the year. And he's an offensive play caller, which is what you should be hiring as head coaches more than anything else.
Especially with the talent in that offense in Atlanta too. Come on.
You have a young quarterback in Michael Penix. You want a play caller that you don't have to worry about leaving after a couple of years. I think that is the biggest reason why you don't hire why you don't hire a defensive-minded guy in Hafley. From the 414, Brad says, Ed Policy loves those bites of the apple, just like the Brewers owner does. Hopefully Hafley takes the Packers OC and offensive line coaches too. The other question is, does Hafley go get Malik Willis and bring Malik Willis with him down to Miami? Because that's going to be something else to be worth considering.
I think you're going to have to find a way to move on from Tua Tagovailoa before then. His contract's just too massive for the money that Malik Willis wants or is going to want or is projected to want, whatever you want to say. It's going to be way too much to put that much money into that one position, even if it is the quarterback position.
Well, see, and that's the other thing here. Let me look at the Tua contract here if I can find it. Because my thing is on this. Tua right now has a potential out because in 2027, he has a cap hit of $53.4 million, dead cap money of $31.8 million. The problem is in 26, he has a cap hit of $56.4 million. His dead cap number in 26 is $99.2 million, dog. He ain't going anywhere.
Well, and that's on top of the fact that Tyreek Hill may not be a part of this team either, and he's making a decent chunk of change too. So if he decides to retire, or if you need to move on from him in some capacity, there's more money that you need to take care of.
I think if you're the Dolphins, you tell Jeff Hafley, hey, man, he's going to be your quarterback next year.
You want the first round pick, or the first overall pick? We'll get you that. Go through one bad year.
You're going to have to play with Tua and figure this out because a $99 million dead cap. He's not going anywhere at this point. Back to the Nicolay Law Talk and text line, asking you again, what have you learned about Ed policy now that he's had these extensions for the Packers? 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, 414 Vic Fangio. He's in Philly. He ain't going anywhere. He's in Philly. 920 Al Harris as a potential replacement for Jeff Hafley, who's getting the Dolphins head coaching job. I don't know, man. I'm not all in on this whole Al Harris love affair. I get it. Former Packer, all of that. You big Al Harris guy?
I think he did a good job this year. I think the way that he was able to take a Bears defensive backfield that was relatively unchanged from the season before and help them turn a lot of the plays that they were knocking passes down into turnovers, right, and the peanut punches that you saw from this team. I think that all comes from Al Harris, and that's what we're talking about, that aggressive kind of mindset. But also, if Al Harris, again, is going to keep trying to take steps up in the NFL, he's not a 3-year option. If he does well as the defense coordinator for the Packers, he's going to try to go for a head coaching job too, in my mind.
Absolutely. But there would be something about Green Bay taking him back from Chicago.
That would be nice. I think, again,
there would be something to that.
He was a huge piece of why this Bears defense was able to be so opportunistic this season, and that would hurt them a lot if they were able to steal him away.
And if he comes off running his mouth on the other side of this, that also spices up the rivalry a little bit.
That would be awesome. That'd be the main reason I'd be okay with it, even as a Bears fan. That would be so cool to see somebody just open their mouth a little. Maybe,
right.
Maybe it'd be like, I hated working for Ben Johnson.
Right.
You know,
yes.
He's a loud mouth. He takes control of everything.
Yes.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. I got another one here from the 414. Otis in New Berlin. I learned in the last 5 minutes that Ed Policy needs to go hire Jim Leonard. Period.
I saw somebody else talking about that on Twitter too.
Listen, you're not going to sell me on whether or not they should hire Jim Leonard. I'm in. You can go hire Jim Leonard. I'm fine with that. Now, do I think he's going to bring that type of mentality that I'm talking about? No. But do I think he's a hell of a defensive coordinator? Yes. Yes, I do. And I don't think it matters if you're in college or if you're in the NFL. I think if you know how to call defensive plays and how to scheme against opposing offenses, I think it translates. And as good as he was in college, there's no doubt in my mind he'd be just as good in the National Football League if given that opportunity. So yeah, and he's been in Denver hanging out with Sean Payton, who's been a head coach for 100 years. He's learned a ton, I bet you, in the last couple of years. Since he left Wisconsin, he's got all this NFL knowledge. He knows all the NFL personnel. He knows all the offensive schemes that you're going to face. Like, I'm all in on that. Hell yes.
I think I'd be okay with it too. And it's also not like you're going to offend anybody by giving him that huge jump in position to a defensive coordinator with the Packers, because nobody else in that defensive staff, in my mind, deserves a jump up right now after what we saw this season. I had hopes for DeMarcus Covington as a defensive line coach. I thought maybe he could figure something out. And that was one of the weakest parts of the team by the end of the year. Nobody else should be offended if they were to give Jim Leonard from like scout assistant to a defensive coordinator position.
This is turning to people texting in their ideas for the next defensive coordinator after Jeff Hafley has been hired as the new Dolphins head coach down in Miami. Nicolay Law Talk at text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, the 262. Matt Patricia.
Interesting.
No.
You're not down for that?
No. I put it in just to see what if he's got any interest from any other NFL teams. I saw they're working on a contract extension at Ohio State. By all means, keep him. I don't want Matt Patricia in Green Bay. No, man. I don't have anything positive to say about Matt Patricia from his last couple of times around the NFL.
There's a reason he's in college football right now,
yeah,
if I'm being completely honest.
Right. I mean, but you know who my guy is. I want Schwartz out of Cleveland. That's who I want if I can get him. McDermott out of Buffalo. I'd be good with that. But I just think he's going to be a head coach somewhere if he wants to be.
I think there's some other teams in the league. Like, I don't know if I'm 100% sure the NFL is done with head coach firings right now. I think there's a couple other teams that are still sitting on the fence with their current head coaches, and a guy like Sean McDermott being available, like a team like Tampa Bay, who they've been rocking with Todd Bowles.
I saw this before of head coaches on the phone with their agents like, hey, man, call Buffalo and tell them to come get me. I'll leave my job in Minnesota. I'll go coach the Buffalo Bills. Could you imagine? Could you imagine O'Connell in Buffalo coaching Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? How much better of a situation that would be for O'Connell than what he's stuck with in Buffalo right now with that quarterback situation that isn't the best in the world. There very well could be, again, head coaches on their phone with their agents trying to get them out of their spots. O'Connell and the Bills? Whew, that's a hell of a lot better than what he's stuck with in Minnesota right now, right? Absolutely. CB, downtown Milwaukee, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, CB?
What's going on, man? How you doing, man?
Well, Jeff Halfley's gone, so we're talking about trying to figure out how to replace him.
Well, I got 3 candidates. Of course, Rasheed Morris, Jim Leonard, and maybe Jim Schwartz. Out of those 3, who would you get, Sparky? Your opinion?
Schwartz is my guy. Morris is definitely last out of those 3. I would go Schwartz,
well,
then
Morris.
Leonard, and I don't like Morris. Outside of the Rams, when he had a star-studded defense, his defenses haven't ranked good at all.
What about Jim Leonard?
I like Jim Leonard. Sure, I'm fine with Jim Leonard. I just got done talking about Jim Leonard. But if you're saying rank those 3, Schwartz has been my number 1 target this whole time because I think he brings the nasty and the physicality everywhere he goes. That's how his defenses play. That's what I want to see the Packers play like.
Ain't he still locked in with Cleveland, though?
Well, they don't have a head coach. So if he doesn't get the head coaching job, odds are he's out of Cleveland and will be available. But he's trying to get the head coaching job in Cleveland right now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that would be my 3 choices. But I'm happy for Halfley, though. He can go over there with Miami and bring Ikabarwe and Rashad Gary over there.
Yep, no doubt. All right, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. 414, hey, guys, isn't Mike Tomlin a defensive coach primarily if you want hard-nosed defense? Tomlin's last job prior to coming to the Steelers as head coach was as defensive coordinator for the Vikings in 2006. Prior to that, he was a defensive backs coach. So, yes, that would be his last job. I highly, highly, highly doubt that Mike Tomlin will go back to being a coordinator at any point the rest of his life. He's either going to be a head coach or he's going to go make millions in a broadcast booth.
I think that would be slightly disrespectful to Mike Tomlin to go, hey, you want to be our defensive coordinator?
It would
this
have
guy
to
that's
be,
never won a Super Bowl before.
But it would have
the pedigree.
It would have to be one of his guys.
Yeah.
Right? That is a head coach that needs a defensive coordinator. And Tomlin calls that dude up and is like, hey, Doug, I'll come help you win a Super Bowl. Let me be your DC. I'll help you. I'll stay out of the way to the side. You're that coach, but I'll come help you finish this thing. All you need is a good DC. That maybe. But as far as like teams calling him to come be a DC to a guy he doesn't know, I don't think that's happening.
No shot. And even in that situation where it's Mike Tomlin reaching out, I think he'd probably rather be in like an advisor role than a coordinator role where you don't have as much pressure on your shoulders, but you can still have a say in what's happening on the field.
Right. Let's see here. The 2-8 Morris will be our next. I hope not. Let's pray that Raheem Morris is not our next because you all are going to be just mad at the world if that happens. You're going to be going, oh my gosh, I got the wool pull over my eyes by everybody on Twitter about how great this dude is. And now I should have listened to Sparky and realized he isn't all that great. But by all means, we'll see what happens. Obviously, aren't him and LaFleur guys? So, I mean, that's part of the reason why you're tying these 2 guys in. And I understand it. But again, if I'm at policy, man, I want somebody that's going to bring physicality and a nastiness to the defense that's going to be aggressive and get after dudes. He can pick his own coaching staff, bring whoever he wants in. Let's go. I threw this out, what was it, last week or whatever else, just spitballing names or whatever else, and half tongue-in-cheek, half not. Man, go get Rex Ryan. Man, go get that crazy dude. Go get crazy Rex Ryan. And go, you coach the defense and stay away from Matt's offense. Matt, you coach the offense. Kind of like the 85 Bears, right? Ditka and Buddy Ryan. They hated each other, but it got him a Super Bowl. Could have got him more if they could have got along. But that's what it was. It created that dominant defense. That is what you could get from that dude. But nobody wants to work with him, so it's never going to happen.
And I don't blame people for not wanting to work with him.
I don't either.
And then I think Rex Ryan thinks he's Mike Tomlin and says he would only take a head coaching job. There's no shot he'd be a coordinator when he's just not worth that. So I think he'd just be too much of a problem.
He's not getting I don't think he's getting a head coaching job again.
That's why he's on TV right now.
I mean, unless it's a horrible, horrible organization like Cleveland. and they want to take a shot.
Las
at
Vegas would definitely give him a shot in like the next 5
Brady?
years. Yeah.
With Brady and the Patriots against the Jets, you think Brady's
They can
hiring Rex
figure it out,
Ryan?
yeah.
There's no chance Tom Brady is hiring Rex Ryan. Zero chance on that.
Maybe
one.
Davis sneaks back in there and has a little say,
No, it's not happening. Absolutely not. Hey, the Bucks won today. When the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. After every Bucks win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosty classic. No purchase necessary. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win, so act fast. Get that free small frosty classic at Wendy's. So the Come Think Sparky Miss brought to you by the Milwaukee Admirals, coming up in about 15 minutes or so. But next, let's talk about what all has happened here at the end of the season and what it all means for this division. That's straight ahead. It's the Wisconsin Sports Daily Show, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. 0 for Rico Collinsworth on the call there. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Steve Sparky, 5 for Charlie use it over there. Rams take the Bears out thanks to Ben Johnson consistently going for it on 4th down and not converting, not taking the points. They lose, they go home. A nighty night to them. The Detroit Lions weren't in the playoffs. They were watching. The Minnesota Vikings, they weren't in the playoffs. They were watching. The Packers were there and gone quickly as the Bears took them out. Now, when you look at this NFC North, with news that Jeff Hafley is the new Dolphins head coach, knowing that the Detroit Lions have hired the Cardinals offensive coordinator to call plays for them next year, that happened today as well. So will that be better than what they had in John Morton? I would assume so. But again, that wouldn't have been my first, second, or third choice probably for the Detroit Lions. But that's what Dan Campbell wanted. That's what Dan Campbell got. So those two are big decisions. LaFleur being extended, and Tom Silverstein was on early in the show, Packers beat writer in the 2 o'clock hour, and said if he was a betting man, he'd put some money down on it being a 3-year extension, around $15 million a year for Matt LaFleur. That means that Matt LaFleur then would be here for the next 4 years if that's the case. That would put him 1 year past Jordan Love's contract coming up into free agency, if that is what this ends up being. Tom Silverstein also saying earlier that even though people have been talking about possibly changing the structure inside of the organization for the Packers, going back to how it was for Bob Harlan, that is not going to be the case this year. Everything is going to stay the same. LaFleur will report to policy. Goody will report to policy, and Russ Ball will report to Ed Policy as well. That structure is going to stay the same because it's worked fine. No reason to change it. So Ed Policy will keep it as is, all coming from Tom Silverstein early in the show. If you missed that interview, go back to listen to that in podcast form right there at wisportsradio.com, or you can go back, obviously, on YouTube. That'll work as well. After seeing how the season finished with the NFC North, how do you like the Packers' chances of winning this division next year as we sit here right now? We have to go through free agency still, have to go through the draft still. But as we sit, how do we feel right now? Nicolay Law Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I always, as you well know, I talk about it all the time. I save stuff on X. I'll favorite stuff. And then that's what I kind of use and help me use and come up with prep for different show topic ideas and so forth. And the one thing that we've talked about on this show is to expect you as a team to be as good as the Bears are in creating turnovers year to year to year is probably not realistic. That there's going to be some type of regression normally the following year. How about this? The last 3 times the Bears led the league in takeaways. Okay. 2008. They had 6 fewer wins than the year before and did not make the playoffs. 2013, they had 2 fewer wins and did not make the playoffs. In 2019, they had 4 fewer wins and did not make the playoffs. So if we're going based on history, they're not making the playoffs next year if we just use that as far as the regression that comes along with the turnovers coming back and all of a sudden everything else falling into place.
I would say the one thing that did help the Chicago Bears team out compared to those other teams in the past for them is that throughout the second half of the season, their ability to force turnovers wasn't there nearly as often as it was in the first half of the season. And they were still able to go out there and win games because their offense started figuring it out a little bit too, which in the past, especially those teams with like Khalil Mack and Mitch Trubisky at quarterback on the other side of things, yes, they were forcing turnovers a lot throughout the season, but they didn't have an offense on the other side of the ball that was consistent enough to keep them in those games when they weren't forcing turnovers. This Bears team is built differently, and with a different kind of head coach at the helm, I think there's a lot better chance that they make the playoffs for 2 years in a row than it was 8 years ago when it was 2018.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how this all looks, because if you look at the Bears salary cap situation as well right now, they're at about $4 million in cap space right now. But you still have to get a draft class in there and whatever the case may be. So there may be some cap casualties coming in Chicago too. I think when you look at this division, and you tell me what you think as far as you like the Packers' chances to win this division next year. Nicolay Law Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I like it. I like it for a couple of different reasons. Number one, that quarterback situation is a mess in Minnesota. So until that gets straightened out, I'm not rolling the dice on Minnesota winning the division until I'm convinced they have a quarterback that knows what they're doing. So forget them. Bears history, like we just talked about, is probably going to go backwards next year on the Chicago Bears, and there's going to be some regression. The only thing in my mind that can overcome that regression is if Caleb Williams takes a huge step forward as far as completion percentage goes. That number just has got to go up. He's got to become consistently much better with his accuracy if this is going to work, okay? And I don't know if that's possible. Mason Crosby, if you missed that show today, you missed it. He called Caleb Williams garbage at one point. He called him trash at another point in that show. Mason Crosby, not a Caleb Williams guy. So I would say the Bears probably aren't in the playoffs next year either, right? Then now it comes down to Green Bay and Detroit. And again, we have unknown factors in all of this. Number one, new defensive coordinator in Green Bay with Jeff Hafley going to the Dolphins as head coach. So that's the first unknown factor is, will the defense regress? Will it be better? Will it stay the same? Don't know. Then you don't know, as of right now, who's the special teams coordinator. Do they move on from Bisaccia, and does that help or hurt the special teams? I can't imagine it gets worse. But that's another part of it. And then offensive line coach, offensive coordinator. Does LaFleur stay loyal and keep everybody moving forward, or do they part ways and go do something else? On TV tonight, I'm watching Cincinnati get interviewed on ESPN. Is Indiana and Miami. Bostad is the offensive line coach for Indiana. Bostad's been in the NFL. I would easily 10 out of 10 times go get Bob Bostad and bring him back to coach the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers next year. Wouldn't even think twice about it, Charlie.
Oh, I wouldn't either. What he's done there has been phenomenal.
And he's old, so he's been around for a while.
At the same time, I think that's going to factor into some things. If he's an older guy, does he feel comfortable where he's at? Does he want to head back into the NFL where there's a lot more pressure on his shoulders? And then the second thing is he's done a great job there. I should say
old. I'm old, I guess. I mean, I turned 50 this year. He's 59.
Okay, so he's not that
I mean,
old.
I consider myself old, but in NFL terms.
Still, again, a guy at 59, though, is somebody that in that career could be on the verge of retirement if they wanted to be. And if he's comfortable where he's at, why go and put the extra pressure on your shoulders? And then they've done a great job in the transfer portal when it comes to the offensive line so far this offseason.
Taking Badger guys.
It's probably because of Bostat, and I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if Indiana or how much Indiana is going to fight to keep him versus letting him go to the NFL because he's done such a good job at bringing people in.
I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know Frank Cincinnati at all, but I don't think Cincinnati's going to block anybody from leaving if they don't want to be there. Because two reasons: one, he's not going to stand in the way of somebody doing better, and number two, I'm sure Cincinnati is old school. Like, you don't want to be here. There's the door. I'll find somebody who does. Like, he's not going to try and block somebody.
Well, maybe not block him, but offer him more money.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they could do that. But Mike McCarthy back in the day blocked his assistants left and right from going and getting jobs elsewhere. And I always used to get mad on the air about it. And I like Mike, but it's like, what are we doing? If they don't want to be there, then let them go where they want to be. Why do you want somebody that just is disgruntled because you're being a doofus because you don't want to have to worry about trying to replace them? It's selfish is what it is at the end of the day. And I understand, hey, I don't want to lose my job. And if he's here, I have a much better job of keeping my job, as many good coaches I can keep around me. Because if that guy leaves, I don't know if I can find somebody as good. I get the attitude. I understand the attitude. But again, if somebody doesn't want to be where they are and they have an opportunity to go somewhere else, then let them. Now, let's go back to Wisconsin Badgers, right? Let's say you're a position coach in Madison. You love Madison. You're a former Badger, for God's sakes.
Right, yeah.
You grew up in Wisconsin. I don't want to leave. But you ain't paying me nothing. So I start looking. I get an offer from Cincinnati at Indiana. Says, hey, man, you come here, I'll triple your pay. Now, if Wisconsin goes, I'll triple your pay, and you go, I'm still out, okay, well, you didn't want to be here. But if they come and go triple your pay, and you go, hey, I'm good, I'll stay. Or I'll double your pay to triple. That's good enough for me. I'll stay. Sometimes you have those situations where they want to stay, but they need more to be valued. And that I understand.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. And I think as a head coach of that team, even going back to Mike McCarthy blocking people from leaving, I think that's unfair. If they're on your staff, I think in most cases, even outside of sports, that's your family. Those are people that you want to spend time with. And if you didn't want that, then you shouldn't have hired him in the first place or put him into that position. I think to block people, and to your point, those guys that make you stronger around you, I think that shows weakness for you more than anything else.
Right.
I think if you were willing to let them go and keep replacing them over and over again, it probably strengthens your job security if you can recreate success over and over again doing that.
1000%. Nicolay Law Talk, a text line from Paul in Green Bay. Feel really good. They should have won it this year if a couple plays went our way. Just need to stay healthy. That's Paul in Green Bay on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line. Again, asking you, how do you like the Packers' chances of winning this division next year? Knowing there's some unknowns out there, but as we sit here today, knowing Jeff Hafley is the head coach in Miami. 262 Bears can't keep getting lucky. Vikings and Lions are irrelevant. However, Packers need to draft well and get lucky with an offensive lineman and cornerback, and then replace Gary in free agency. They can win the division. That is from Ziggy on the Nicolay Law Talk and text line.
At what point and this is a question for all Packers fans, at what point does it stop being lucky and just start being something that the Bears can do, which is win games?
You have to do more than a year.
Well, and I mean,
that's all. If you do it next year, then the lucky talk is out the window because now you've established a track record. But as I just read to you, there are 3 other years in which they've done this and they missed the playoffs the following year.
But again, you've watched this team. It doesn't feel the same as those other Bears teams.
It definitely felt like a magic carpet ride this year.
It felt
absolutely
like they had 8 wins this year where they were able to come back. That's
Correct.
Something that doesn't just happen.
That's the thing. And how many times can you continue to be in that situation and win 8 games the following year? If most years when you're down like that, you might come back 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. That's 5 wins. That's a huge difference in record. That's what I'm saying. Let's see what happens next year. And then by all means, I'll give you your flowers. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Sparky with you. Potawatomi Sportsbook, that's where you're going to be tonight to watch the national championship game. Indiana and Miami, 2,000 square foot screen, over 30 sporting events at one time. The sound will be turned up on the game. I can guarantee you that. They'll be cheering and all that stuff, both sides of the ball. People that bet Indiana, people that bet Miami. I'd bet Indiana myself, but you do what y'all want to do. Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen is amazing. Great place to have dinner and some dessert as well. Homemade desserts and pastries every day. The kitchen's amazing. 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails. You will get there and you will not want to leave. You can reserve your seats ahead of time. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but you can check it by going to potawatomi.com. Then just look for the sports book and make your reservation. Part of that reservation does go towards your food and beverage cost that you pay. So really, you're going to spend money on food and beverage anyhow while you're there watching the game. So it really doesn't cost you that much at all at the end of the day. Again, potawatomi.com.
What story did Sparky miss talking about today on Wisconsin Sports Daily? Don't you worry. Sparky's got you covered now. Don't miss Milwaukee Admirals hockey this season. Don't just buy tickets. Invest in memories at MilwaukeeAdmirals.com.
He expanded on this in an interview after this press conference, talking about the idea that he came back to his office after the game and the owners were there and everybody was there. He's like, oh boy, what? And then they told him, he's like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And then he goes to find Bo Nix and his family's around him, obviously devastating all that. And now it comes down to Stidham to try to be his former team, the New England Patriots. The Broncos defense will give them a chance.
100%. I mean, you saw just how aggressive and what Sean Payton has been able to instill in that team. That's exactly what everybody's been calling for from Matt LaFleur. They'll still have a chance, even with Stidham at quarterback.
I'm telling you right now, there's no way they're trading this dude. I mean, I just don't see how you trade him.
No shot.
I just don't. Unless he publicly comes out and says, I'm out. And he's not going to do that. He already told you, I'm never asking for a trade. So cool. Then they're not trading him, and let's just move on. They're going to probably go all in and trade for John Moran or do something crazy. And then we'll see how that plays out the rest of the year. And then he's got 1 year left on his deal. So again, if they're not trading him, you play the 1 year out, and then the rebuild officially probably begins if he leaves in free agency.
I guess Windhorse's vagueness that he uses all the time may say that other teams are just calling the Bucks. Doesn't mean the Bucks are calling other teams.
That'll do it. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Thanks for tuning in here this afternoon. Truly do appreciate it. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, Inside Wisconsin Sports, Trevor Thomas, Josh Albrecht from 6 to 9. Coming up next, it's Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz from 5 to 6. Have a good night, Wisconsin. Toodles.